Welcome back to Bring on the Shit, Breaking the Cycle and Healing Toxic Mother Daughter Relationships, Episode 11, Overcoming Barriers to Reaching Out. I am your host, Dr. DeQueen Agape. Today, we discuss how the ego inhibits vulnerability, connection, and the difficulty of reaching out for support within toxic mother daughter relationships. Join us as we unravel the challenges posed by shame, fear, rejection, and isolation, and offer guidance on overcoming these barriers to seek help and build a supportive network. Reaching out for support is a courageous act. Yet, within toxic mother daughter dynamics, it can feel like an insurmountable hurdle. Shame, fear, and isolation can all conspire to keep individuals trapped in silence, preventing them from seeking the help they need. In this episode, we shed light on the challenges and offer practical strategies for breaking free and reaching out for support. Shame, fear, and isolation are among the primary barriers individuals encounter when seeking support within toxic mother daughter dynamics. Shame can stem from internalized beliefs of unworthiness and inadequacy, making it difficult to admit vulnerability or ask for help. Fear of judgment or reprisal from the mother or others can also prevent individuals from reaching out. Additionally, the sense of isolation that often accompanies toxic relationships can further compound these challenges, leaving individuals feeling alone and helpless. So, how can individuals overcome these barriers and reach out for support? It begins with recognizing that seeking help is a sign of strength and not weakness. Individuals must challenge the internalized shame and fear that prevent them from reaching out and remind themselves that they deserve support and understanding. Building a support network of trusted friends, family members, or therapists can provide validation and perspective, helping individuals feel less alone in their struggles. Additionally, online communities or support groups can offer a sense of belonging and connection, even in the absence of physical proximity. How does the ego inhibit vulnerability and connection within the toxic mother daughter relationships? The ego can inhibit vulnerability and connection within these relationships by fostering a sense of fear of emotional exposure or rejection. Individuals may prioritize their ego driven needs for control, superiority, or validation, leading to the reluctance to show vulnerability or express authentic emotions. This lack of vulnerability creates a barrier to genuine connection and intimacy within the relationship, as both parties may struggle to truly understand and empathize with the other's experiences. Here are some common fears, such as the fear of rejection or abandonment, that can arise due to ego's influence. Here are some common fears that arise due to the ego's influence in these dynamics. Fear of rejection. Individuals may fear that showing vulnerability or expressing authentic emotions will lead to rejection or abandonment by the other person. Fear of criticism. Individuals may fear that opening up about their feelings or experiences will result in criticism or judgment from the other person, further exasperating feelings of shame and inadequacy. And fear of vulnerability. Individuals may fear that exposing their true selves or deepest emotions will make them appear weak or inferior in the eyes of the other person, leading to reluctance to show vulnerability or express authentic emotions. Here are some ways the ego fosters feelings of shame or inadequacy, hindering individuals from reaching out for support or help. The ego fosters feelings of shame or inadequacy within toxic mother daughter relationships by prioritizing self protection and self image over vulnerability and authenticity. Individuals may internalize negative beliefs about themselves based on the critical messages or behaviors they received from their mother or daughter, leading to feelings of unworthiness or inadequacy. The ego driven need for validation or approval may further reinforce these feelings, hindering individuals from reaching out for support or help. Here are some ways in which fear of vulnerability and exposing one's true self contributes to the disconnect between mother and daughter in these relationships. The fear of vulnerability and exposing one's true self contributes to the disconnect between mothers and daughters by creating a barrier to genuine connection and intimacy. Individuals may fear that showing vulnerability or expressing authentic emotions will lead to rejection or criticism by the other person, leading to a reluctance to truly open up and share their innermost thoughts and feelings. This lack of vulnerability perpetuates a cycle of misunderstanding and emotional distance within the relationship, hindering genuine connection and empathy. So, how does the ego driven need for control or validation impacts the ability to form? So, how does the ego driven need for control or validation impact the ability to form genuine connections and seek support? By prioritizing self protection and self image over vulnerability and authenticity. For example, individuals may prioritize their own ego driven needs for validation or approval, leading to a reluctance to show vulnerability or express authentic emotions. And this lack of vulnerability creates a barrier to genuine connection and intimacy within the relationship, as both parties may struggle to truly understand and empathize with the other person's experiences. So, what are some barriers individuals face in overcoming the ego's inhibitions for vulnerability and connection within the toxic mother daughter dynamics? Some barriers individuals may face in overcoming the ego's inhibition for vulnerability and connection within toxic mother daughter dynamics include fear of judgment. Individuals may fear that showing vulnerability or expressing authentic emotions will lead to criticism or judgment from the other person, further exacerbating feelings of shame and inadequacy. Pride and defensiveness. The ego driven need to protect oneself or reputation may lead individuals to become defensive or resistant to showing vulnerability or seeking support from the other person. And lack of trust. Individuals may lack trust in the other person's ability to empathize and support them in their vulnerable moments, leading to a reluctance to truly open up and share their innermost thoughts and feelings. How can individuals begin to cultivate courage and authenticity in expressing vulnerability despite the ego's influence? Well, practicing self awareness. Reflect on your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and consider how they may influence the ego's need for validation or control within the relationship. Cultivate empathy. Approach conversations about vulnerability with empathy and understanding towards the other person's experiences and emotions, seeking to validate and support their perspective. Prioritize open communication. Create a safe and supportive environment for honest and open dialogue where both parties feel comfortable expressing their thoughts, feelings, and concerns without fear of judgment or criticism. And seek support. Seek guidance from a therapist or a counselor who can provide tools and strategies for overcoming the barriers of vulnerability and fostering genuine connection within the relationship. What role does self compassion play in breaking down the barriers created by the ego and fostering connection within these relationships? Self compassion plays a crucial role in breaking down the barriers created by the ego and fostering connections within the mother daughter relationship. By promoting acceptance and understanding of one's own vulnerabilities and imperfections, individuals can cultivate self compassion by treating themselves with kindness and understanding, recognizing that vulnerability is a natural and essential part of human connection. By practicing self compassion, individuals can begin to let go of the fear of judgment or rejection and embrace their authentic selves in the presence of their mother or daughter. How can mothers and daughters create a safe and supportive environment that encourages vulnerability and open communication, despite the challenges posed by the ego? Mothers and daughters can create a safe and supportive environment that encourages vulnerability and open communication despite the challenges posed by the ego by offering validation and empathy. Validate each other's experiences and emotions and approach conversations about vulnerability with empathy and understanding. Cultivate trust. Build trust in a relationship by demonstrating reliability, honesty, and respect towards each other's feelings and boundaries. Prioritize mutual support. Create a culture of mutual support and encouragement within the relationship where both parties feel comfortable expressing their vulnerabilities and seeking help or guidance from each other. And seek professional help if needed. Consider seeking support from a therapist or a counselor who can provide guidance and strategies for fostering connection and vulnerability within the relationship. As we conclude today's episode, let's reflect on a key takeaway. Reaching out for support within toxic mother daughter relationships can be challenging. The ego often inhibits vulnerability and connection, making it difficult for individuals in toxic mother daughter relationships to reach out for support or express their needs authentically. Fear of rejection or judgment may prevent them from seeking help, perpetuating feelings of isolation and emotional suppression. However, by confronting shame, fear, and isolation, individuals can break free from silence and build supportive networks that nurture their well being and resilience, which is another essential step towards healing and growth. That wraps up another enlightening episode of Ring on the Shit, breaking the cycle and healing toxic mother daughter relationships. Join us next time as we navigate challenging times through the lens of the ego. Until then, remember, you are not alone. Reach out and seek the support you deserve. In a minute.